Hello, Stitchy friends. How's everyone doing? Today is Friday, February 13th, 2026. My name is Andrew, and this is my dog Winston, and we are here today to share with you a little bit of an extra video. I wanted to come to you today to open and share one of the Merejka kits. The Merejka company was gracious enough to send me a number of kits to try out and to also use their app that they have for their kits. And the one that I'm going to be opening today is called Under the Oaks. I just absolutely love this scene with the deer. And so I thought, what a better way to do this than to share it all with you. So I think I'm going to be filming a little bit as I open the kit, as I go about what I need to do to get things ready. And we'll see how this goes today. So this is the kit I'm going to be opening. I want to start out by saying that the kit comes with a QR code here, which you might be able to scan through this video. But that QR code basically takes you to the app. So I will put a picture up here of what the little icon looks like for the app to download. It is available on the Apple Store. That's what I'm using since I'm going to put it on my iPad. And once you download the app, you can set up an account. You just need an email address and a password. And then it logs you into the account, basically. And to start off, there are, and I can show these because they're all free charts in the app, but they have a number of free charts already in here that you can just use. And I think that's really cool. There's a couple of very cute ones that I'm like, oh, that looks fun to stitch. So even if you don't have a Merejka kit or you don't have a pattern that works with the Fan2Stitch app, you can still download it and just check it out and test it out with one of these free patterns that they have built in, which is a very, very cool feature. So from my understanding is when I open this kit, there'll be another QR code in here or a code or something that I can use to import that pattern into the app. So we're going to see how easy that goes today, and we're going to go ahead and open this kit. I do apologize. There is going to be some crinkling here at the beginning because I have to take off this plastic. So apologies for that. Winston wants to know what it is too. You think this is for you? I don't think it's for you. All right, so let's see what all comes in here. The first thing you'll notice is we've got the floss cards, which are awesome. They are clearly numbered here on the side. They've got this little cut here on the sides of each one that you can kind of stick your extra thread in if you have some extra from each color. So that's handy. I think I'll definitely keep all the floss on these cards. This pattern came with 5 different colorways, which is super fun. Obviously these two are the ones that I'll be using the most, but here's all the different colors in the pattern. That's a lot of fun. And the next thing we have is our Aida cloth. And this comes with a 16 count Aida cloth. And wow, this is large. I don't think I realized this piece is going to be quite this gigantic, but this is a big one. So here's the Aida cloth that came with it. I will need to iron this, so I will probably do that once we're done kind of opening the rest of this kit. And yeah, just kind of iron it out so the creases are good to go at the beginning. And I will probably be stitching this in hand. So typically I roll up from the bottom, but because this is such a longer piece of fabric horizontally, I might actually roll it from the side. So we'll see how I get that ready to stitch. But it's this beautiful sort of tan colored Aida cloth that comes with it. Next we have the pattern itself. It did come with a nice chart here. I think it's on 3 different pages, and I'll show you just a little clip of it on the corner, but it is nice big symbols, very easy to read. So that's wonderful. Then we've got just a little kind of teaser booklet of some of their other patterns that they've got. So we have this one here, which is pretty beautiful. We've got fruit baskets, and then we've got this gorgeous, gorgeous flower here. That actually looks like a lot of fun to stitch. It's called Rose. So we have some options there as well. And then the final thing we've got is the code for the pattern. Now I will not be sharing this on camera because you have to purchase the kit in order to get this code. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to scan this into the app now. And I think it's as simple as, I'll kind of try to show the app as I'm working with it, but it's as simple as clicking this plus button here, which will take me into this screen. And from here, I can choose QR code So I'm gonna click scan QR code. It's gonna bring up my camera, and I'm gonna go ahead and just try to scan this code in. And we'll see what happens. Okay, it looks like it brought up the schema. So you can see here that it does put in a picture of the of the schema of the pattern. Yeah, so it does say the QR code grants one-time access to the pattern for a single account, meaning you can only add this in once. So you won't be able to share this with other people, which is a very nice feature to have for them, so that these patterns can't just be shared anywhere. But I'm gonna go ahead and click Add Schema to Accounts. And it is probably loading everything in now. And then look at that, under the My Patterns section, so we were in the free patterns section earlier, but now in the My Patterns, I have the Under the Oaks pattern right there for me to use. That's super exciting. So now, before I get started on this, I'm gonna iron this fabric. So let's take this over to the table and kind of iron this out. I did also wanna just point out that in the fabric here, there is a needle, which is very nice. I'm not sure what size it is, but I'll probably at least start out using it. I'm sure I'll be using multiple needles on this kit, but yeah, it's got everything we need. So let's go ahead and iron this out, and we'll come back in just a little bit. All right, we've done a little bit of ironing, and now the wrinkles are out much better than they were before, and this will kind of loosen up as we begin to stitch over time, because this will take a while, this piece. But everything is ironed out. I'm excited to use this Aida to see how it feels in my hand. But I did want to point out a couple of other things. So one thing I noticed while I was ironing is that they actually give you this card as well. Now this is numbered 1 through 40, which I believe there are about 40 different colors in this piece. But this is basically like a floss drop card for each number. So instead of having to put your extra bits that you didn't use back on these cards, you can just use it as a floss drop here, which is super, super convenient. I wish Dimensions did that, because theirs is just a mess to deal with. So it's very, very nice that they bring you this kind of pre-punched hole, and it's pretty sturdy cardboard, so I think it will last at least the length of the project. So wanted to point that out, that I'll be putting my extra threads on there as I use them. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was figuring out where to start on this pattern. So on the pattern cover here, it shows the dimensions in centimeters, which is 30 by 57 centimeters. That translates roughly to 12 inches up and down, and 22 inches horizontally. So I'm gonna now measure this fabric and see how many inches we have as like a margin for a border, or not a border, but a margin to frame. So it looks like 12. So it's about, we've got about 3.5 inches top to bottom. So that would be roughly an 1.5 inches on either side of the top. And now let's see what we've got going this way. So we've got, there is 12, 24. So we've got 29.5 that way. So horizontally, we've got plenty of room. I think if it's gonna be 22 inches and we have 29, that means we have about 6 inches to play with. So we've got about 3 inches on either side which is awesome. Top to bottom, we've gotten about 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those measurements and find where I'm going to be starting the piece. Now, typically I start in the upper left-hand corner. However, since this is basically full coverage, I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to start in the upper right-hand corner. That seems backwards to me, but I want to give it a try. I've kind of been thinking through the process of full coverage stitching, and I just want to try what it's like stitching from the upper right-hand corner. So that's where I'm going to begin. I'm going to go ahead and find that on the corner, and I'll mark it with a needle to show where I'm going to start that, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so now if you can see, I have marked with a needle where my first stitch is going to go on that upper right hand corner. So I know exactly where I'm going to be there. And because I'm going to be stitching this in hand, and this is much longer horizontally, I'm going to try rolling it up from this side. So I have 2 clips here that I'm going to be using just to hold it in place once I roll it, but I think it'll be much easier to stitch if I roll it up from that direction. So I'm going to do that now. I try to get the roll as tight as possible because I want to make sure that it is not too bulky in my hands. So just start the roll as tight as I can and try to keep it as level as possible. It's not a complete science, but you know, it kind of works for me. So I've now rolled this up. I'm going to get it a little bit more even here. And I think that's about a good distance that I'd like to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clip on either side of the fabric just to hold that in place so that my job of rolling it doesn't come undone when I'm stitching. And now I can hold this in my left hand and stitch with my right hand, and I don't have all that excess fabric to deal with. So I think now I am ready to start stitching. So my goal for this piece is 300 stitches to get this started, and that's what I'm going to be trying to accomplish today. Hopefully that will be much easier with the app, but we'll go ahead and get things started. Now I won't be able to actually show you the pattern on the app, obviously because it's not mine to share, but I'm going to try to walk you through exactly what I'm doing and sort of the ease of using the app as I go. So I'm going to just click on the pattern that I uploaded and import it. The first thing it does is give me this beautiful picture of what this is going to look like, which is awesome. So let's dig into it now. All right, and the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on this little symbol up here that will bring up my menu options. The first one on here is the color key, and this is just brilliant. This lists individually the number of strands you need for each color. It lists the number corresponding to the floss card. If it's a blend, it lists the 2 numbers you need and how many strands of each one that you need. You can also filter this by full crosses, half crosses, back stitching, and French knots. So if you just wanted to see the color key for the French knots, you can take out all the other ones and you'll see here exactly what you'll be doing French knots in. So that's very, very handy. I really like that. Next up, we've got statistics, and since I haven't started yet, I don't have any statistics, but I think that will be fun to watch. That's one thing I really like about Markup RxP is the statistics it gives me, and obviously the number of stitches I'm stitching each day, things like that. So that will be fun to sort of look into a little bit more. Next up, we've got the color key, and we can use this to determine what color our symbols will be once we mark them up, which is very handy. So I'm going to just leave it as green, I think, for now. I can also choose how I want it to be highlighted. So if I want it to be highlighted in green or yellow, I can choose that. Purple, you know, I can choose whatever color I want for the highlight when I pick a symbol. So that's nice. Next up, we've got layers. So on here, I'm able to choose whether or not I want to see the cross stitches and the back stitching, just the back stitching, just the French knots, and I can sort of shift this bar here to change the symbols. Here you can see I've now set the X's to show a lot lighter, and all that's left is the backstitching on top of it, which will make backstitching very, very easy. From what I understand from this app, you can actually select the backstitch and mark it off as you go. So this will be super, super handy to be able to do that. Okay, next up, we've got counters. And counters you can set to show how many stitches in a row of that color you need. So if you have a long stretch of one color, and let's say you have 8 in a row, instead of having to count that you have 8, it will just show the number 8 beside that color, which is very, very helpful. So I'm definitely going to play around with that. I definitely would like to use it, although looking at this pattern, I don't think there's a lot of block stitching. So the counter may not come in handy for this pattern, but it will for others, for sure. Okay, next up we've got a bunch of different grid options. We can set the 10 by 10 grid. We can set a 5 by 5 grid. We can set where we can mark the center of a grid. There's just a lot of options to play around with there, which makes it very customizable, and definitely appreciate that. You can also set guidelines, which I think for me will be very helpful because as you can see on this pattern, it put little diagonals through the pattern. So since I will likely be stitching on the diagonal from the upper right hand side, this will come in very handy, and I will probably use those. And then next up, you've just got rulers that show like how many stitches, what the stitch count is from side to side. So that's helpful as well. You can turn on or off parking, which I'm going to turn it on because I will be doing parking in this piece. And you can also turn on or off the navigator. The navigator is pretty cool because that's this full picture up here. So you can actually choose what part of the pattern you want to focus on. And if you're zoomed in really far, once we get to the symbols and everything, you'll be able to choose which part of the pattern you actually want to stitch, which is super, super cool and very handy to like quickly move around. And then you can also turn on or off the actual symbols that relate to the stitch. So it already highlights everything in that symbol. You don't need to do anything with it, but you can have the actual symbol show up or not show up. So I'm going to zoom in just a very small piece of the pattern right here, just so you can kind of get a glimpse. But this one obviously has a lot of color changes, a lot of confetti. But what's really nice is you can see the counter up here, so you know where you're at with 10 stitches. So it's easy to do the 10 by 10 blocks. And then all you'll do to select a color is you just click on it. So let's say I wanted to stitch this first symbol here, and it will highlight all of those browns that I need to stitch. If I don't want to see that color anymore, in the bottom corner, I can just hit X and it will take that off of there, and I can switch to a different color. If I wanted to start marking it off, then I can use this marker symbol up here. So I click that and I can start marking it off. And you can see the colors that I chose before, the highlight color and the finish color are right there. And if I want to take it off, I just hit the erase button and I can take that right back out. I can X out of there, and super easy. I can use 2 fingers to sort of move around on the pattern a little bit, and then 2 fingers to pinch to move it in. It looks like that is as large as it can get, which is plenty large. So yeah, that's kind of a brief little introduction to the app. It seems very user-friendly, much more so than Markup RxP. And because their patterns are already built for this app, there's no trouble with loading it in. You saw how easy that was for me to scan my QR code and get this pattern into the app, which is awesome. So yeah, with that, I think I'm gonna get ready to start stitching. So because I said I'm gonna stitch on starting with the right-hand corner, I'm going to scroll all the way over to the corner of the app. And the good thing is I will be starting with some half crosses. So this will be a good one to show, but I've got some half crosses here. I'm going to click on the one symbol, so it will tell me, and here's where the counters come in handy. So it tells me I need 23 half crosses in a row here, 22 in this next one, then 17, 16, 13. I think this actually might be the only section of block stitching, but that is super helpful to have that counter. And because I can see the numbers up here, it'll be very easy to keep track of everything. And I can see down here, you know, I'm using what color I'm using. This would be number 8, and it says 2, which I think means 2 strands. I'll have to double check that and verify, but that seems awesome. That seems very, very helpful. There's 2,283 stitches in just this color. So that's pretty cool. I think, let's see, overall in this piece, there are 67,365 stitches. Now, that does include back stitching and French knots as well. So that's everything, 67,000. I don't think I realized that was quite that big. That's a big pattern. I'm super excited to get it going though. I can't wait. So without further ado, I'm gonna get stitching, and I will come back to you once I've got either 300 stitches in or at least a good chunk that I can show you and kind of give you my experience working with the app. So thank you for joining me. And just like that, I'm done my first strand. I like to run my extra floss, or to end my thread on under the stitches in the back of my piece. So I'm going to do that now. It's definitely harder while you're watching. All right, I'm back after about 2 hours of stitching, and I'm happy to say that I have now added about 322.5 stitches. So here's what my statistics page looks like now. You can read this a little bit, and they actually give you the breakdown of the amount of time I stitched. So it says 1 hour and 58 minutes. The number of stitches you did, 322.5. It tells you the percent that you added on the piece. So today I added 0.5%. And it actually gives you the breakdown of full crosses versus half crosses. So I did 103 full crosses and 439 half crosses for a total of 322.5. I love the statistics. I've always loved the numbers. I've always loved counting my stitches. So that part is great. Now let's just show where I'm at. So here is the first 322 stitches of this piece. I really love it. I think the colors are coming through nicely. It's been fun to work with some of these browns. Even this like peachy color was beautiful for the sun. And then I got a little bit of the yellow right in there that just has that little bit of a color to the leaves. But yeah, this was so much fun. I kind of didn't want to put it down. However, I am going to keep following my temperature stitching rules, which this is the piece I'm using for that. So it'll keep coming out for the next several weeks as the temperatures are called. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. Again, this is for the Merejka kit under the oaks. I'm having so much fun with it. And let me know if you have any questions about the app or about the kit. Yeah, it was great. I think this was the easiest kitting experience that I've had. Again, I loved this card here that I could put all my extra threads on of the colors that I used. That was really helpful. So just a great kit experience overall. Again, I just want to say a huge thank you to Merejka for sending me this kit. I really appreciate it, and it's going to be such a joy to stitch, especially with this app. So that's all I've got for you, but I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.